please state your full name?
And Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands.
I was mindlessly scrolling on TikTok when I came across a man dancing. Now, that shouldn't be any bit weird on TikTok, but I glanced closer and I realized it was Jeffrey fucking Epstein. Of course, generated by some artificial intelligence to appease to the minds of, well, brain rot viewers. And it just snapped into my mind. There are plenty of young bucks who don't even know the history behind this man. While this video won't cover the whole life of Epstein, this will go over two prominent things. What was Epstein's Island, and what are the Epstein files, broken down very simply. Now to go straight into it, Epstein's Island is actually called Little St. James. And before Epstein bought it, it was honestly just, well, an island. 70-ish acres off the coast of St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. There is no very deep history that I could find on it or any symbolism or secret importance with anybody else, but again, it was just another private island that rich people bought, talked about developing, and then did nothing with. Epstein bought it in 1998 for around $7 or $8 million, which at the time wasn't crazy money for an island. And at that point, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't very well known. He was just that weird rich guy that nobody could really explain where his wealth came from. He didn't run any famous company, but somehow had endless money, private jets, and connections to people who actually ran the world. Now, we all know Epstein didn't buy the island as a getaway to relax. Almost immediately, Epstein started changing it. He built a private dock so boats wouldn't have to stop anywhere public. Then he added an airstrip so planes and helicopters could land directly on the island. Security cameras were installed, and again, these were installed everywhere. Epstein could see everything and know everything that was going on in his island. Certain areas of the island were blocked off completely, very restricted access for what went on there. Again, this wasn't any regular rich person's getaway island. This was an island where Epstein ran his illicit operations involving trafficking young girls and bringing in other rich people or high status celebrities that wanted to get involved with what Epstein was doing. Now, this island was very visibly different from his mansions in New York or Florida. On an island, there are of course no neighbors, and as a result, no random visitors, right? So no one's just passing by. If you're there, it's because Epstein allowed it. And if you leave, it's on his terms. Everything in and out was intentional. Now, you're probably wondering, what did the public think about Epstein's Island? And for years, the public explanation was pretty simple. It was a private retreat, a place for Epstein to host his guests, and for him to get away. And again, most people didn't question it. Private islands existed, rich people do weird stuff, and life goes on. Then 2019 happened. Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. And before any of it could fully play out in court, well, he was found dead in his jail cell. Now, there are conspiracy theories that were all around saying, well, Epstein, no way, he killed himself. It was all too shady. And I won't be looking into all that in this video. And if you do want me to look into it, well, you can drop a comment down below. But yes, there are some things that are very questionable. For example, why the footage wasn't immediately released. Or the fact that surveillance was just almost shut off during the time period he took his life, which is not very common in that type of prison. Anyway, the spotlight turned to pretty much everything he owned, and this goes into the island. And that's when the Epstein files start to matter. When people talk about the Epstein files, they're not talking about a Google Drive filled with random crap. It's a mix of court records, flight logs, depositions, and unsealed testimony from lawsuits connected to Epstein and his associates. Now, why do these files matter? Well, what they do show is patterns. Who was around him, how often, how people moved, and who had access. And Little St. James, Epstein's Island, comes up over and over. After Epstein's death, the Virgin Islands government stepped in and seized the island as part of lawsuits against his estate. Now, eventually in 2023, the island was sold. I don't know why anyone would want to buy that or do anything on that island after, well, what transpired on it, but Epstein's ownership officially ended. The sad part of all this is, well, this went on for a long time, right? Epstein was able to bring a lot of victims, innocent young girls, and obviously sexually abuse them. And he wasn't the only one, right? While Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were the organizers of this whole thing, there are people that are involved and should be held accountable. And that's why people are hounding in on these Epstein files being released, because they show sort of that pattern, who was associated with him, flight logs that show who was going on those flights to Epstein's Island. And to be honest, if you're going there frequently to Epstein's Island, you're not just there to meet up and hang out with him while you're participating in what he did on that island. No doubt about it. And there are these severely incriminating photos as well that have surfaced over the years of people that were on the island and were involved with Epstein. And hearing the testimonies of the victims of Epstein is very disheartening. And I know a lot of people like to have these conspiracy theories of, oh, Epstein was some sort of agent, government agent for some sort of foreign country. But there's so many conspiracy theories. But at the end of the day, these things did happen, okay? Whether it was a part of some bigger scheme or not, Epstein did allow for these young girls to be harmed. And there are people that were involved along with him, and they should all be held accountable. Obviously, this is a very condensed version, but for those who didn't have a general idea of what's going on, well, here you go. And just one more thing. I love life, and I want to keep going. And yeah, X out. Can't wait for the next one, guys.